Hi boys and girls. This is going to be a two-part video, and hopefully you can see this. It's early in the morning, so the light is coming through my kitchen a little bit differently. So I'll try to keep everything right here in the brightest part. And for this paper mache project, this is what you're going to need. We're going to need, this is still my Cheerios box that I've been using all along, a circle about this size to trace. It doesn't have to be exactly this size. A toilet paper tube or a paper towel tube cut down, a mixing bowl, water, flour, tape. This is duct tape. This is just what I had available. It doesn't really matter what kind of tape you use. Something to write with, a spoon to mix with, a pair of scissors, and some newspaper. Okay, so let me clear my work area. And the first thing I'm going to do is make my paper mache so that it has time to sit. And you can make paper mache with glue, or even easier is equal parts flour and water. And this works as a gluten-free version as well. If you want to do gluten-free flour and equal parts water, it's still the same mixture. So I'm going to start with 1/4 cup of flour. Okay, and then I'm not going to pour all of my water in. I'm going to pour part of it in and get it mixing. And you want this to feel like paste, like a little bit thicker than pancake batter. A little bit more. Okay, so you're mixing, getting all the lumps out. And I'm gonna let this sit while I cut up and prepare the rest of the project, because that'll help for the lumps to dissolve. Okay, yep, it looks like it's gonna be a perfect half and half ratio today. Like I said, you can make this with Elmer's glue by adding a little bit of Elmer's glue, but flour and water works just fine. It takes a little bit longer to dry, but that's why this is gonna be a two-part project. Okay, so I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. Now I'm gonna take my circle. These windows are really giving me some weird lines here. Okay, and I'm gonna trace my circle. And this is just a lid, but again, I already have crayon on my lid, so make sure you ask permission. All right, I'm gonna cut it out. Hopefully the light will change and we won't have these weird reflections from my window pane later. Okay, now you actually only need half of this, so we're gonna fold this in half, or as close to half as you can get. That's about as close as I can get. And that's okay, and we're just gonna cut it in half. I'm gonna use the bigger half though. Okay, so now we have half of a cardboard circle, and on the flat edge I'm not going to do anything, but on the curved edge I'm going to cut these little slits, and these are going to help me attach it to my paper towel tube. Okay, now I want to just bend and roll my tube to kind of just break down any of the coating on it. I want to make it easy to work with. You'll see it actually starts to curl the more you see that, the more you play with it. Okay, take a break, give this stuff a little stir again. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna pre up my tape so that I have it ready. Might even just stick it right there. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna curve this, and it's best to have the shiny side inside, okay? And I'm just gonna keep twisting it until it fits on top. Now, if you've seen the math challenge for this week, you will know that this would be a really useful tool to be able to build part of your math challenge house. Okay, so mine fits pretty well. Now what I'm going to do with these tabs is I'm going to press them down. You can choose to press them down and push them inside and fit it on like that, or you can just put it on outside and tape it down. I'm going to do mine outside so that you can see it. Okay. Oh, this tape is very old. I think I've had it since I first started teaching. But it's still holding a little bit of its stick. Okay, so I'm taping it down, and it doesn't have to be pretty because you are going to cover this eventually with paper mache. All right, one last big loop. Okay, now you don't need to do anything for the bottom except for cover it across the tape. And the best way that I have found to do this is to do it with two pieces. I'd say this is the trickiest part of the whole thing. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do a crisscross. So I'm gonna go once across like this, and then I'm gonna make an X. Can you guys see the reflection of my birds coming across the paper? They keep coming to the feeder in this window. And then I'm gonna do this. If you pull too tight, it's gonna go like that and make it squished. You don't wanna pull too tight. You just wanna cover the end so that you have somewhere for the paper to stick to. All right, now I'm gonna do one more piece up here just because I like everything smooth. Just to give it a nice surface to stick onto. Okay, and that's the beginning. Now, make sure to cover your work area with some newspaper. And you're gonna take, oh, you don't need that. You're gonna take some strips of paper. I'd say about this big is good. You can cut these, you can rip these, you can do pretty much anything you want. If you want to do this the non-messy way, you can take a paintbrush, kind of like my spoon, and just paint it onto the paper. And you want to paint it on both sides. So you can do this with a paintbrush, or you can just do this with your fingers by sticking your fingers in, rubbing the paper, and then you're just going to stick it onto your crayon shape or your pencil shape. This, the art word for this is called an armature. And it's just basically the inside of a sculpture. Okay, so I'm smoothing this down, and you don't want to do so much that it's like slopping off. If it's slopping off, then it's not going to dry, and it can get kind of yucky. Okay, so I'm covering this, covering this, covering this, and I'm going to keep covering it. And I probably will leave this for a few hours and come back and do another coat because we want it to be nice and stiff and hard. And the more paper mache and paste that you have on it, the stronger it's going to be. We don't want you to be able to poke someone with it, but you do want to be able to play with it and have it withstand being held. Okay, so I'm going to keep going with this. When you get to the end, to the back part, you're going to cover the back part in the same way that you did with the tape. You're going to go on with layers like this. If you have something like this, you can just push it down, but you will need to fold it over so that it's nice and neat like that, okay? And then you can seal in the edge. And there's that. So keep going until you have the entire thing covered several times. And then I'll be back for part 2.